All right, so here we're going to do the first practice of the future problem solving, where we're going to look at the problems of step one. So, we're also called challenges. So step one is what we're going to be taking a look at here in this video of identifying challenges. So this is in the context of steps 1 through 3, where challenges is the first part, and then in the coming weeks we'll be looking at the underlying problem and the solutions. And so all this is based off of the future scene. So the future scene is not the challenge, it's the situation. So what we're doing here is the team is looking for challenges that are not already stated in the future scene. Right, because there's going to be scenarios that are already listed for you. Those are obviously challenges. You're going to be looking for additional ones. So it's things that may happen due to the future scene, or things that may have caused the situations in the future scene. That's the type of stuff that we'll be looking for. So the future scene establishes the time, place, people, and issues. It states some challenges or some of the issues they're facing and implies other challenges. So those are the type of ones that we're trying to pull out of the situation. And as in real life, not everything's clear cut. So you're going to have to be, taking some liberties and really thinking about what could happen or what may happen based upon some of the scenarios that are occurring in the future scene. So here's some more information about the future scene. You can pause the slideshow and take a look at it. All right, so we have here listed listings that may happen or may have cause. We'll be using the word may or would or might or could, courtesy of co-coach, in our writing process when it comes time to address the challenges. So, also in this, challenges which cause the future scene often make good underlying problems. So we'll also be talking about how to write some challenges with keeping in mind that step 2 takes one of your challenges that you have written and turns it into the underlying problem or the main issue that's causing or that's creating issues within the future scene. So you may want to read the future scene more than once to experience this scenario. We're looking for problems that may occur, so it doesn't have to necessarily be something that they listed. It allows you to take some liberties, saying that some things may occur based upon what you read, and you are free to highlight, underline, circle keywords, and jot down ideas that emerge. And once you see the process of writing challenges, that'll be something that starts to come naturally to you as you're looking at the future scenes. And we're going to take a look here soon at the categories as well to help branch out our potential challenges. Okay. So now do keep in mind that this process is done with other people. So there's going to be a process of, going through and working with your partners. So you want to have an open mind on this because you need to generate a lot of these quickly. So there's really no time to shoot them down or be really negative towards your different teammates' ideas, because you just want to build a bunch. You want to get a bunch of ideas out there. And far out ideas are fine. They can be refined down, or sometimes they're fine even as something that's a little more far-fetched because, we're talking about future scenarios, and a lot of times almost everything's on the table in terms of what you can work with. And anytime you generate something, you can then take other ideas and move forward with it. So when you're brainstorming challenges, continue to think creatively. And we are trying to generate these fairly quickly because we have a timed process over the course of this whole booklet. So with this, here's some strategies that we recommend. Using Post-it notes to find duplicates, share and organize and combine ideas. And we'll cover some more of this as we actually start to do full practices over the course of the booklets. And then taking the best ideas and turning them into challenges. So here's some more ideas for the team. So just be sure to pause and read through these. All right, so this part is super important. This is the category list. Typically, groups will split these up, and each of the 4 members knows a certain group of them, maybe splitting them into groups of 4 or 5 or 6. And these are the categories that you're supposed to make reference to. You might not literally write them out, but your different challenges need to address these topics. And if you have these memorized as a group, this is what's really going to help you generate different types of ideas. Because if you start thinking of, well, how could this challenge be broken down into like a violation of basic needs? Someone else is thinking about how it's going to incorporate technology or social relationships or law and justice. As you can see, all these are fairly different in scope. And so when you're reading a future scene, be thinking about how some of these categories might come into play. So as you're reading through, you might say, ooh, this section here of this future scene might generate some good portions that I could reference in terms of, national defense or defense issues. Or you might see something that's a violation or could cause future issues with ethics and religion. These are the topics that you'll want. And this is also what makes the future problem solving, team special, is that when you begin to think like this and can view all these different categories, it's going to make you a much better arguer or persuader when you're talking about different concepts, because you're going to be able to think of them from there's 18 here, 18 different perspectives, rather than just bottlenecked through one particular view. So we're going to take a look at a sample future scene. The one we're going to look at is social media future scene. That's from the evaluation manual. It's about Susana Mendez and LifeLog. So if you have that handout from the team, you want to go ahead and read that. And you're kind of keeping an eye on what the time, place, and topic are. That can assist us in the process for writing the challenges. And at the end, you'll see the charge that they're tasking you with. That's the type of stuff, or the charge is the type of thing that we're going to be sort of basing our different challenges around. All right, so this slide is now going to start to outline the superficial writing challenges portion. The most important part on writing a challenge is that it must be a cause and effect statement. If it's not a cause and effect statement, it will not get credit when it is being graded by the grader. It must be cause and effect. Now what we'll see here, using A, B, and C, is just a generic setup, but this is essentially the template that you'll work with, and then using synonyms and things like that, kind of make it sound more colorful. So because A, or because blank is happening in the future scene, B may happen and create C. So that's essentially the template that you'll be filling in different things, and you can do this by, channeling your thinking through those categories that we saw in the previous slide. All right. And here are some good condition statements to help use when writing, to kind of change up that sentence above to where it's still saying the similar things, but with some different words. So as you begin to write some of these, try to work in using some of these other phrases, such as "for this reason," or "since," and "so that." And so just work some of these different words in so that when the graders are reading your work, you don't have 16 challenges in a row to where they're all this sentence, because you'll eventually lose creativity points, essentially. So you'll want to mix it up a little bit by using synonyms and similar phrases. All right, and then also don't be afraid to elaborate on your ideas of what may happen. How will it affect the future scene? Why is it a challenge? You'll want to make sure that it's clear to the viewer or someone else who's reading it that those types of things are taking place. And once again, don't forget it must be a cause and effect. An example of something that would be not in the cause and effect form, even though it may be correct that it's occurring in the future scene, is if you said something like, in the future scene, there is a challenge that people don't have safe places to live. Because that's not a cause and effect. You're just stating an effect. You'd want to say something more along the lines of, due to the fact that the earthquake has destroyed the variety of the living places, people may have difficulties finding safe places to live. So you can take the idea, but make sure it's in a cause and effect statement. So here's an example from the future scene that we had you read about, life log. So since Real Life is a company that sells a life log that records every facet of a person's life from a time while still in utero to age 18, the company has subscribers that can determine some of the daily activities of Susanna's life. This may result in the participants of the program, such as Susanna, to not be able to adequately develop the simple task of decision-making, which is a critical element of any child's development. Lacking this key component in early childhood may lead to unnecessary stress or frustration of the real-life participants. So the cause, subscribers can determine Susanna's daily activities, affect unnecessary stress or frustration. And this would then fall under one of the categories, would fall under the category psychological health. So, you can see the thread of that category here within this problem. And for time's purpose, you may find ways to shrink this down a little bit when you're writing out your actual booklet, but this is kind of a full-on, nothing held back example of a challenge. So here's an example of one that's a little more adequate in terms of how you will write it on your document, because you don't want to use too many words like the previous one, but this one still would receive full credit. Participants like Susanna in the Real Life Log program may feel resentment towards their parents for committing them to a potentially life-altering agreement. This could lead to ill feelings toward their parents by these children, so there's the cause, resentment, which could result in various dysfunctional instances to occur within the family dynamic. So the effect is dysfunctional family dynamics. And this could fall under the category of social relationships. So I want to mention that too as an important component, because those categories need to be thread into these. Because you want to check them all off. You do see that one of them is miscellaneous, so you can get that one once, but then you want to use unique categories for your different challenges. So challenge tips. So be sure you have written challenges, not solutions. You're not trying to solve anything. So for that cause and effect, you're not elaborating beyond that cause and effect to fix anything. You're using may, might, and could to list out things that could happen, based upon the categories. Extremes should be avoided, such as, due to the earthquake, everyone on the entire earth may die. That would be an example of an extreme that should be avoided, because we're ultimately going to try to fix some of these. Choose the challenge with the most impact on the future scene, and that's just to make them better. The closer they are in relation to what you read in the future scene, the better, because it's going to gear us up for phase 2, which we'll look at later, of underlying problems.